Is that really all the rest of the... Oh, wait, no, there's another case on there. Okay.
Of what?
Regular Mountain Dew?
No, that's Diet Mountain Dew.
No, there's only...
That's
Whatever regular Mountain Dew is in there, I think is it.
Oh, shit, really?
there's only some left in there. There's like 2 Baja.
You got that Diet Mountain Dew just in case I found Baja Blast Zero.
Oh, we should return
Based on what you
Yeah, we should. If we go to back to Sam's Club, I'll return the Diet Mountain Dew.
An explanation of pluses?
Yeah, so like if you're flanking, you get a +2 to melee and range, and the enemy gets no negatives. If you're flanking with the high ground, I don't know if you can do that, but if you have the high ground, you get a +1 to range and melee, and the enemy gets a -1.
Right.
If you're kneeling, you take a -2 to everything unless it's like a crossbow, and the enemy gets a +2 and a -2.
I mean, as long as we have it open, if the
Nice.
scenario comes up.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that actually kind of helps me out, or helps us out with
because
flanking.
I plan on using that.
So I get a +1 to attack if I'm higher than them.
Yep, and if you can take the high ground while flanking, you would get a +3.
That's exactly what Obi-Wan would do.
Yeah.
I mean, he would if he had someone to flank with, but this dude all be by himself.
And so, from episode 1, when he jumped off the balcony with Qui-Gon.
Then if
Oh,
we have if it's a surprise round, I didn't know this. If it's a
Hello
surprise
there.
round, we're the surprisers. The people we're attacking they lose their dexterity bonuses.
Yeah,
so
Yeah,
flat-footed.
flat-footed.
Yeah, that I always remembered.
And if we're flanking, they're flat-footed as well.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
So
Are we still at Castle
For the
Highwind, like,
flanker.
post that big
yeah,
fight?
yeah,
Huh?
Are we still just at the castle after that big fight?
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah. We went to
Yeah.
bed in our.
Y'all went
our-
to your
Oh,
own.
like we
respective
have
beds.
rested?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we fully rested.
Except for Gil.
Spells,
He made a comment about my wife,
And he's rested. He
so
just
I
had
stayed
arrows
up all
in
night flicking the motherfucker in the forehead. You asleep? Brah, wake the fuck up! Who wishes she could heal my wife? Giant piece of shit.
Use the feet, throw anything, throw a wheeler out the window.
I'll just come back.
The very next day.
How high is the high wind out there?
Okay, so we're all in the castle. Well, you're all in the castle.
King of the castle.
I'm not there. And now it's just a matter of you can ask questions about castle locations. You can ask questions about ground locations. You can ask questions about any other possible info you might be looking for that he might
We
know.
had done something that triggered a second large piece of paper that we decided not to do until today.
Okay, the 30, or is it 37-page thing?
Yeah.
The 37-page thing.
Super girth.
Was it 26?
Girth is down.
I think it was a 30+ handwritten
Oh, okay.
one, which is like in half when you print it. But that's a lot of handwritten stuff. Is that where we want to start off today?
Yep. I'm good
So
with
then probably what you do is as you guys wake up,
that. I run to Kecker Dade.
Kagan,
before you die.
Holds my door shut.
please tell me more.
I'm ready.
Fessick, please!
Please.
He's getting away!
Please.
I'm coming to niggle.
He's getting away.
All right. Since we're in the castle, we're gonna play the castle theme song music, which is Dragon's Reach from Skyrim.
Ooh.
That's what we were playing last night.
I thought you were going to play the Missidian.
The city.
Oh, dear God.
Turn it up.
Have you heard that the style of music that they play
Relaxing
Those
castle
Isley
This is
Cantina
obvious.
has officially been labeled jizz band.
No.
What?
Like the music that they play at Mos Eisley, there's like a group on the internet that has decided that the style of music is called jizz.
Yeah.
Instead of
band.
jazz?
Yeah.
They didn't think that through when they came up with it.
No, they did that on purpose.
Probably.
No, is it
They
one
did
of-
that
I
on
thought one of the,
purpose.
one of the
All
instruments was a
over the
jizz horn. I thought
face.
that's why they called it that. Wasn't there a jizz horn?
I hope not.
I feel like we would have made jokes about that back when we played Galaxy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay.
Not to use it.
So you all kind of regather in the library. You're just kind of looking for each other, looking for Keckard. What you find is Keckard has died of old age.
No, I revived him. Get that reviving scroll that you got.
Hate that. Here it goes.
Chest compression, chest compression, chest compression.
Every time you press down on his chest, some dust shoots out.
It's like, oh my god, it's like John enters 13th masturbation of the day.
I'm sure he would be like happy for us to turn him into some undead abomination just so we could ask him more questions.
Oh yeah, animated ass. Let's talk to him.
What did I say?
Alright.
Have
So he's
Tristo
like-
use smite, maybe that'll bring him back to life.
He's like,
Boom.
Good morning. Glad to see you all up and about. What can I do for you
It's
today?
no longer morning because we had to go and do stuff.
Listen.
We had to have the White
Hang on, I
Castle.
gotta go shit.
Well, okay, we'll wait
Shit
longer.
blood.
Shit, well, I mean that might. So he's like, what can I help you out with today? Like, what is it you're looking
I
for?
heard you had a 36-page manuscript you were going to read us last night.
Ah, yes, the ledger I had pulled. I had found some information about Gil A Mesh. And I thought if you'd like, I could go over it with you.
Yes.
Since apparently your memories are all shit. Because you're much older than me, I guess it's to be expected.
I'm not kidding. This thing's like heavy.
He's like, yes. So,
Oh, wow.
this is about you, Jared, honestly.
I'm awake. Holy shit.
And I'm going to be honest, out of all the things I had written for this campaign, this is probably my favorite.
Does it have my ass raping in here?
I hope so.
That's version 2.
Yeah, there's like a 4-page ass.
That's the DLC, if you know what I
It's Gildas Dyer.
mean. Alright, are we ready?
Yes.
We'll do it like last time. I'll read it and you guys all just follow along. Trying.
I feel like I'm in English class.
I know. But like we should take turns. Like,
No, please don't.
Yeah, I know.
I won't even be able to do my own name. Q-L.
Like, all right, get this guy out of
Mesh.
here. He's one of the players. All right, Gil Alphonse Mesh, Zoldad. Before we get to that, don't read it. So we're going to talk about what precipices. Precipice.
Right on
Proceeds.
the precipice.
Or what comes right before it.
The tip?
Kind of.
The ring.
The leg shake.
A
Whatever.
stank leg?
I just saw a little boy in the hallway doing the stanky leg and he disappeared.
Okay, so before we get to that, we're going to go over this. As soon as that was ready. Thought he was into this, but apparently he doesn't.
There's no more cold zeros, so I'm going to get a regular Bubba Plus.
It's because there's zeros and nobody cares.
Yeah, there was. There was one more cold zero.
Oh, I didn't see it.
It's alright. He's
Do you want it for later then? Or?
no, it's okay.
Okay.
No more delays.
Alright, so he talks about Gil. Your records don't show much leading up to joining Callion on this quest. You traveled much of Elenorath, going from arena to arena after leaving Dyer. There were a few times that assassins from Dyer managed to hunt you down. However, the only thing they ever accomplished was finding themselves dispatched sooner than they thought that their time would come. For the most part, they let you be, probably based on a couple of things. The first being how quickly the failures remains were sent back to Dyer. Another was a legendary status you had already achieved. No regular bounty hunter was likely going to risk his life attempting to take you down. As it was, most people had begun to believe you were immortal. Not only did you become a god of the arena in Dyer to win your freedom, but you also single-handedly slaughtered an entire unit of their finest soldiers and left them on holes in the Cloudtop Mountains, just to send a message. You no longer needed to fight in the arenas, and yet you continued to do so. Outside of the arena, you lived a life of celebrity, and yet you continued to risk it all, as if killing was the only way you could find purpose to life. When Callion and Uller sought you out, you had just won a tournament in the arena in Galvest in southwest Nor. When they initially approached you, trying to recruit you to join them, you wouldn't even listen to them, thinking them just another mercenary group. You blew them off. And who could blame you? You had 4 beautiful women waiting to satisfy your every desire back in your room. After your lust had been satiated, you sat up with drink. While you tried to ignore Callion upon your first meeting, you had caught a few of his words. The foul deeds of Dyer must be stopped. Oloran must be stopped. You sat up all night reflecting on your life. Your kidnapping at 10, and the killing of your parents and family. At 12, your rapes and beatings at the hands of the arena fighters. Trading your young body for knowledge and spending the next 10 years perfecting your skills till they were an art form. Slaughtering the entire Dyer raiding group and posting them. Hoping Dyer would have the gall to come and find you. And these last 10 years you had spent living at the edge of death with no purpose other than to tempt fate and the gods every time you stepped in the arena. And Zoldad. Zoldad? I don't remember how they pronounced it. Could be Zoldad. It's from Final Fantasy.
I didn't play. Yeah.
Yeah. And Zoldad. The one time in your life you felt right. Not deterred by your initial refusal, Callion and Uller found you again the following day. As they were prepared to give you their sales pitch once more, you held your hand aloft. They paused. You asked 2 simple questions. Are we going to burn Camarina and Castle Arden to the ground? Camarina is the capital city of Dyer. Are we going to burn Camarina and Castle Arden to the ground? They nodded yes. Will I be turned loose on the heads of the Dyer military? If that's your wish, Callion responded, then I accept your request. Let us be off. From that moment, you dedicated yourself to Callion's cause. And then that's what brings us to, because we referenced Zoldad, the one time in your life that you felt right, that's what leads us to Gil A Mesh, Zoldad.
What is Zoldad?
It's a city.
Okay.
It's a city from Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. Like this. Oh, here I can actually put a map in. Hey, maybe that helps.
I mean, is it part of Callion's area or?
Nope, I'm about to show you.
Okay.
All right, so it's just.
You had the pointer.
Yeah, it's easier for me to do this. So Veritas.
Yes.
Is another. Like everything in this region is going to be like Final Fantasy related. Like
It's not showing up on it.
Oh. No, I said do his titties. Yeah, there you go.
Right on the Pikachu.
so everything in this region, like the naming and all that, is kind of like Final Fantasy related, right? So the Veritas of Dark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dark Veritas and Veritas of Flame, all that stuff. So they found you. There's southwest, right over here in Nor. That's where they found you. You were born in the Cloud Top Mountains, which is part of Veritas.
Yes.
Soldad is like down here somewhere.
Huh.
It's the second largest city compared to Palladia. Palladia is the capital of Veritas.
Pelagius.
Veritol. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just Zoldad was a new term for me, so.
Yeah. All right.
On backwards it says Dadles.
Did I fuck it up?
What?
Did I fuck?
No.
Oh no, spelled backwards.
Yeah.
Okay. Dad lulls.
I'm sure that'll be important later.
It's the key, actually. It's the true path. Okay. Let me get a drink real quick, because my mouth is already. It's like if I drink water, like things would be better.
Yeah. Weird.
Okay. Gil A Mesh, Zoldad. Chapter 1, Rage Awakened. You had arrived in Zoldad, a city located in the southeast of the Kingdom of Lapis. It had been about 4 years since you had killed and pulled the Dire raiding party. This was the first time since then that you had allowed yourself to come this close to the Cloudtop Mountains, this close to the borders of Dire. It was not fear that had kept you away. You had just grown tired of dealing with the Dire bounty hunters. However, this tournament in Zoldad was just too good to pass up. Zoldad was the second largest city in Lapis, second only to the capital itself, Palladia. Well, maybe the country's called Lapis. I don't
Which one's Lapis?
know.
Vartiers.
Veritas.
But hey, it was 1,000 years ago. It could have
Yeah,
changed.
You know, maybe it changed names. I don't know. Inconsistencies.
I was just trying to see on the map where
Yeah.
we were.
It looks like Lapis and Veritas. Maybe they're the same for now.
Equals Veritas.
Second only to the capital city itself, Palladia. And the word was out that this tournament was going to have the finest competition east of Mundus. There was also a sizable purse being awarded to the winner. While you would be happy to accept the money at the end of the tournament, it certainly wasn't the point. You entered Zoldad and conducted yourself in the routine you had come to adopt. You kept cloaked and your face hidden as much as possible. You found yourself accommodations at a modest inn. You didn't need rooms of extravagance, but you enjoyed the good food, good drink, and the supple women you tended to find in these places. The crowds in these types of places were more your kind of people as well. Most just trying to get by day to day and maybe find a little escape. On the second day in the city, you went to the arena to sign up using a false name. You were too well known at this point, especially within the fighting world, and while you knew people would figure out who you were once you started fighting, you preferred to live in anonymity for as long as possible. Sign up went as usual. A little bit of well-placed intimidation works, but combined with decent tipping, most people keep their mouths shut. That evening, you returned to the Nutkin, the inn. That's one of the squirrels from the game. I love it. That evening, you returned to the Nutkin, the inn you had chosen, named after the tough little squirrels that were native to the area. Your heart was intent on some decent food, a few drinks, perhaps a few ladies before turning in for the night. You approached the barman, a short, portly, middle-aged man by the name of Alan Sigler. As you began to speak with him, a group of 4 men, whom had clearly begun their drinking a few hours earlier, continued interrupting, demanding more drinks, and some food be brought to their table immediately. Their arrogance and entitlement, exasperated by every drunken word that left their intoxicated mouths, was outdone only by their unruliness and the obnoxious way they tried to manhandle the bar matrons. Normally, you would pay these men no attention, but their constant interruption was wearing on you. Alan could see the patience leaving your face and tried to quietly apologize, and that's when one small, simple question changed everything. Who the fuck are these idiots? Gil muttered to Alan. Alan glanced nervously towards the raucous group, clearly concerned whether or not they had heard Gil's question. Please, sir, watch what you are saying around them. I don't want any trouble here, Alan begged quietly. Gil stared at Alan. The fear in his face was easy to read, but his eyes, there was a burning hatred in them when he glanced at the 4 men. Have these assholes been causing you trouble? Gil asked, much louder than Alan would have liked. Gil could see Alan's eyes begin to well up. His face winced at the sound of a chair sliding against the floor as his eyes shifted to his feet. Gil casually glanced back over his right shoulder as he could hear someone walking closer to him. When the stranger had come within sword's length, Gil asked, almost innocently, "Is there a problem, friend?" The man scowled at Gil, as if insulted he would even speak to him. "There's going to be, if you can't mind your business," replied the stranger. The arrogance in the stranger's voice grated on Gil, but rather than say anything, he just smirked at the man and went back to his drink. A yell came from the table that the stranger had come from. "You'll mind your tongue, you cunt!" If Blaine wants your thoughts, he'll bleed them from you. Blaine glared back at the table at the sound of his name, while another voice spoke out. Yeah, shut your fucking mouth. It'd be a shame if something were to happen to someone close to you, right, Aelin? The entire table broke out in raucous laughter. Gil glanced back to Aelin and saw a tear streaming down his right cheek as he continued to look at his own feet. Blaine slammed a hand down on the bar, and a startled Aelin jumped. Have the usual sent to our room, commanded Blaine. And the bread better be fresh this time, he growled. Aelin nodded with a forced yes, sir, as Blaine turned to gather the others from the table. Gil could feel the weight of his short sword pressing against his hip. The tendrils of rage that had been slowly growing in him, grabbing at him, were now threatening to overtake him. I mean, I could just kill them all right here and now, he thought to himself. He began to glance back over his right shoulder. Aelin's hand came to rest on the forearm of Gil's sword arm. Gil looked back to Aelin to see him quietly pleading with him and shaking his head no. After Blaine and his men had retreated upstairs, Aelin went to the kitchen to set his staff to task. Afterwards, Aelin returned to the bar, surprised to see that Gil was still sitting there. He was also surprised to see that Gil had helped himself to a bottle of lapis lazuli, the most expensive mead in Lapis. He just reached
blue.
behind the bar, like, oh, I know this one. This one's good. All right, Aelin, Gil prompted as Aelin retook his position behind the bar. What's the story between you and Blaine and his bastards? Keep in mind, this is the first time you've ever been in this bar.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's not like you guys are old friends. Aelin opened his mouth, but naught came out. His face scrunched as his mind weighed the pros and cons of the words he wanted to speak. After a few moments of Aelin's pained face and clenched fist, Gil offered an option, rather casually. Do you need them gone? Please, no, Aelin explained. If something were to happen to them inside the Nutkin, I would have a lot to explain, and to people I would rather not have to indulge. Oh? Gil inquired. Gil couldn't explain why he was so curious about this barkeep, or why these assholes irritated him so much. Maybe he was just getting worked up for the big tournament that he was set to start in a couple of days. Those men have connections to Laughing Coffin, Aelin whispered. I've heard of them, Gil stated, obviously unimpressed. Aelin continued, and a Dyer as well. Dyer, Gil growled, as he began to tilt his head back to drain the last of the mead in his cup. And those bastards, Aelin forced out, now beginning to struggle, they steal children and ship them off to Dyer. And I'm certain they took my little Jaina, Aelin fought to finish as he began to cry into his rag. Gil's head hung back, frozen. He could feel his temples throb, and the pressure in his eyes made them feel close to bursting. Every inch of his skin was on fire. He was going to kill them. He was going to kill them all. While this cyclone of rage threatened to rip his very being apart, Gil fought to maintain a calm presence. Aelin was unfooled and opened his mouth to protest, but before he could say a word, Gil raised his hand, making it clear he had no interest in Aelin's concern. What does Jaina look like? Gil asked calmly. Aelin stood there, unsure what to say. Gil repeated himself, still able to keep his voice steady. Aelin, seemingly unable to form words, ushered Gil to follow him. Aelin led Gil to a small room in the back. To Gil, it clearly looked like a small storage room that had been made into a makeshift bedroom. Aelin came to a small desk and reached the wall behind it. There he removed a portrait that had been hanging up. Aelin turned to face Gil and mustered the strength to speak. A few months back, during the Festival of Lights, a very good artist drew this of my daughter. Aelin handed the painting to Gil for him to look at. She was a young girl, Gil thought, likely in her teens. She's only 14, Aelin said weakly. She's very beautiful, offered Gil. May I take this? Aelin lifted his eyes from the floor to meet Gil's gaze and found it frightening. Aelin looked back to the painting that Gil was holding and felt confused. He thought he understood the deeper meaning of the question, but didn't understand how Gil would be able to help. Deep down, Aelin wanted to believe. wanted to hold to hope. He lowered his tear-filled eyes and gently nodded his head. She's all I have left. This was going to be tough, considered Gil. The tournament was to begin in 2 days' time. Once that happened, it would be considerably more complicated to do what needed to be done. I need to ask you some questions that you're not going to like, explained Gil. At that moment, they were interrupted by one of the female servers. They're demanding whores and ale, Aelin, said Della, frustratingly. Gil looked to Della. Send someone to gather them women. I'll handle the payment. Gil then turned his attention back to Aelin. I want you to send them the strongest stuff you have. I'll cover it. After that, we talk. Chapter 2. Doyle. Questions answered. Doyle had barely heard the knock at the door amongst the yelling. He was losing all of his money. Again. Stupid fucking cards, he muttered to himself. Although he was fairly certain Blaine was cheating.
I think he was playing Talisman.
Doyle's actually from.
He's like, my fucking warhorse again.
Doyle's actually from Chrono Trigger.
Oh, I never played enough Chrono Trigger to know.
The Omni, the Queen, and then her.
Oh, that's Dalton.
Dalton? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry. But you know who I'm talking
Yeah, I
about.
fucking hate that guy.
Yeah, I know, everyone does.
I
Because
say
he's
Doyle
useless, and then
rules.
when you finally get to him, you're like,
Yeah.
I really don't
Smack.
like the name Doyle.
give us back our
Well,
ship.
good dickhead name.
Yeah, or Blaine,
No.
which is why I picked those names. Not that they're bad names; they just they felt like the right names.
Blaine Doyle Joffrey
Yeah, right.
and Crab.
Let's see. Although he was certain Blaine was cheating, upon opening the door, all thoughts of cards and money were lost. Boys, the night is finally about to start, he cried out as he ushered in a group of 10 amazingly beautiful women and what seemed like enough spirits to drown a stable of horses. As the night progressed, Doyle wasn't sure if minutes or hours were going by. All he knew was that this was a night he was never going to forget. Doyle was jerked awake. His head ached, his face burned, and he couldn't get his eyes to focus at all. What had happened? He must have passed out at some point. Were the girls? His thought was immediately lost, as a powerful hand, or maybe a fucking horse, he thought, had just hit him in the face. He tried to reopen his eyes so he could understand what was happening. With some effort, he was finally able to draw his attention to his assailant. Doyle tried to scream, but couldn't. He had been gagged. He made to get up, but could barely even struggle to move. He was tied back into a chair as if sitting on a throne, with his hands hanging off the armrests. So, like this. Right? This can't be good, he thought to himself. As all of his senses finally started coming to, the realization of the situation was setting in, and so was the panic. Before him stood a man with the eyes of the devil himself, and they were fixed on him with a burning hatred. There was no mercy in that stare, and he had two of the biggest swords he had ever seen. It took a few moments, but he finally remembered who this guy was. He was that asshole they ran into at the bar last night. He quickly glanced around the room, but couldn't figure out where he was. He was going to have to do some seriously quick talking to get himself out of this situation. Luckily for him, bullshitting his way out of trouble was a specialty of his. The crazed-looking man who had been sitting across the room from him stood up and grabbed one of his swords that had been leaning against the wall. He slowly walked towards him, and as he did, he began to speak, if you could call it speaking. I can tell by the way you're looking at me, you're smarter than the last guy, the man said. Last guy, Doyle wondered. Who could he be talking about? I want you to understand, the man continued, seeming to calm down some as he spoke. I can do this without your help, but I have a tight schedule to keep. The man now leaned forward and down, so that the two men were now even, eye to eye, and very close. You're going to tell me everything I want to know right now, or I will peel every inch of skin from your body. With that, the crazed man dropped a flap of bloody skin on Doyle's lap. Doyle squirmed and tried to scream. He was terrified. The crazed man grabbed Doyle by his face. The man's grip was intense. Doyle tried his best to collect himself, looked up to the crazed man, and nodded. In his heart, he knew there was no way he was going to be able to talk his way out of this one. The crazed man straightened up. Aylin, the barkeep. You took his daughter, Jaina. Where is she? Anger rose up in Doyle's chest. Was this Aylin's doing? He was going to pay for this. Nothing to say then, questioned the swordsman. Doyle snapped back too, and he thought quickly. He could tell this guy anything, really. Doyle went to speak and suddenly realized he couldn't. The man looked at Doyle very disappointingly. Well, if you have nothing to say then, and he began to draw his sword up to his shoulder. Doyle could feel panic begin to overtake him. This asshole asked him a question, but then didn't ungag him. As the man's sword drew higher and higher, Doyle began to try and scream through his gag. As the sword reached its apex, the crazed man smiled and now looked completely insane. Doyle screamed with everything he had, trying to fight through his gag. His face covered in sweat, his shirt soaked through, and his pants wet with piss. Suddenly, the insane swordsman stopped. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you trying to tell me something? Tears spilled from Doyle's eyes as he vigorously nodded. The swordsman reached forward and pulled the gag from Doyle's mouth. I'm listening. Blaine called out to the other two men that were working in the cellar of the large dockhouse. Where the fuck are Doyle and Maris? We have too much work to do for them to be out fucking around right now. Blaine turned to his right and looked down at two children sitting in a cage. He kicked the cage and yelled at them, which caused them to start crying. Blaine laughed as he walked away and headed towards the small back room. His head was pounding and his whole body ached, but he wouldn't trade any of that for the amazing night he had just experienced. Blaine poked his head through the doorway of the small room and complained, I swear, if they don't get back here soon, I'll kill them. A man was recording some information down on the ledger, looked up and nodded his head. A call came down the stairs. Hey Blaine, looks like Maris is pulling up a wagon. About damn time, Blaine called back. Blaine turned back to the man at the desk. Looks like Maris was feeling inspired, he laughed as he thrust his hips back and forth, emulating some of the events that had partaken in the night before. The man at the desk replied, Looks like this is going to be our best month ever. You're fucking right, Farleth, replied Blaine. You stick with me, and it won't be long before we own this whole damn city. The sound of the large doors opening so the wagon could be brought into the dockhouse drew Blaine's attention back to the stairs. But after a few moments, something seemed off. He should be hearing the wagon entering the building, but he hears nothing. Then, after a few moments, he hears the large doors close, followed by a resounding thud on the floor. Something was definitely off. Blaine looked back to Farleth. Hey, grab your sword and come with me. Something ain't right. Farleth grabbed his longsword off the far end of the desk and followed Blaine to the stairs. Once at the bottom of the stairs, Blaine stepped to the side to allow Farleth to take the lead up the stairs, which drew a scowl from Farleth. When Farleth reached the top of the stairs, he noticed that the room seemed a little darker than normal. He also noticed that there was a body laying in the middle of the floor. Was that Doyle? Unfortunately for Farleth, he would never know. While focused on the body on the floor, he failed to notice a large man standing off to his side in the shadows. Neither did he notice the throwing dagger that was hurtling through the air in his direction before the blade had buried itself to the hilt in the side of his neck. The shock of it all set Farleth sprawling on the floor, gasping for air. Blaine, who had still been working his way around the bend of the stairs, paused for a moment in confusion. Hadn't Farleth just called out to Doyle? Nearly to the top of the stairs and feeling quite annoyed, Blaine called out, Seriously, what in the fuck are you cunts doing up here? As he cleared the door frame, Blaine looked down to his left and froze when he saw Farleth laying there in a large pool of blood, knife in hand, body slightly spasming as his mouth hung there open, praying that air would somehow find its way in. Suddenly, an intense, sharp pain radiated through his right shoulder, forcing him to drop his sword. He turned to his right just in time to see a large cloaked man barreling down on him, and then there was only darkness. Blaine struggled to open his eyes. His head ached and his shoulder throbbed. He reached over to check it with his left hand, and his shirt was definitely drenched with blood. He wasn't lying down, which seemed weird, he thought. As he sat there a moment thinking about it, he realized he could hear voices. A man's voice, which he couldn't place, and the voices of two kids? As he sat there with his eyes closed, he realized that his back felt like it was up against metal bars. Was he back in the cellar? Was he sitting up against one of the cages? His head still felt very fuzzy, but things were starting to come back to him. Farleth had been laying on the floor, and he was pretty sure he had seen another body on the floor in the middle of the room. Panic began to overtake him, and his mind suddenly recalled the large cloaked man closing in on him. He strained and forced his eyes open, but struggled to see what was happening in front of him. He was beginning to make out what the voices were saying, however. That unknown man asked, "Is this the man in charge? Did this man hurt you? Were there others?" Those little bastards were ratting him out. He'd make them pay for opening their mouths. Although he couldn't quite see straight, Blaine attempted to stand up. He didn't get far. It wasn't until his head slammed against the ceiling of the cage, causing him to fall back against the wall of the cage, that his hazy mind grasped where he was. Instinct caused him to reach for a weapon that wasn't there. Blaine's head was buzzing even harder now, but he could hear the man well enough. "I want you kids to stay patient. You can wait here in this small room. Close your eyes and cover your ears if you get scared, and it helps. You don't have to watch this. When I'm done with this man, we're going to get you home. I promise." Blaine had grown up on the streets. He was tough. He had to be. He had been in more fights than he could remember, and fighting was something he had gotten very good at. Or so at least he thought. Never in all the years he could recall had he ever had his ass beat like this. Before his eyes had begun to swell shut, he had seen who his attacker was, that man from the bar last night. When he realized who it was, he tried to threaten him. The man just laughed at him, a laugh filled with disregard. Blaine knew he was in a tough spot, so then he tried to strike a deal with the man. But that just seemed to make him angrier. The man never even said what he wanted. He was just throwing him around and enjoying the violence. But now, Blaine was just laying there in a bunch of broken crates, unable to get up. As he laid there, half breathing, half coughing up blood, he could hear the man walking towards him, along with what sounded like metal dragging across the floor. Understanding what was coming, Blaine did the only thing he could think of. He begged. The man came to a stop, standing over Blaine's limp body. He grabbed Blaine by the ankle and drug him out of the debris he had been lying in. He then grabbed him by the nape and forced him into a chair in a corner of the room near the stairs. "You're going to tell me everything I want to know, and you're going to tell me right now. If you hesitate even for a moment to think of what to say, then I will take it as a lie. And for every lie you tell me, you will lose a piece of your body, starting with your cock," the man explained to Blaine, rather matter-of-factly. Blaine nodded the best he could, and the questioning began.
Shit.
What's the lose?
Not another inch, please.
Chapter 3. Setting forth. As Gil cleared the northern gate of Soldad, he knew there was no chance he would be making it back in time for the tournament. He reflected on the choices he had made over the last 2 days as he rode northeast in the direction of the Cloud-Top Mountains, the money and renown he was going to miss out on by skipping the tournament, choosing to give all that up for Aelin, a bartender he had just met. Still, something about it just felt right. He had killed 4 men without remorse or hesitation. There was no mercy in his heart for people who hurt children. And those 4 men were the worst kind of people, kidnapping children, selling them into slavery, forced into labor, or worse, to become the sexual obsession to some depraved monster of a person. These thoughts forced Gil to reflect on his own past, his own abuse. He spurred his horse into a sprint without even realizing what he was doing. His anger and rage threatened to devour all rational thought from his mind. The first 2 men he had killed didn't have much information to share, but they did lead him to Blaine. The third man he killed was a potential loss for information, which greatly frustrated him at the time. What if he had been the man he needed? He was lucky that it was Blaine who had remained alive until the end. And an informative end it was. Blaine had given up everything at the end, clinging to the absurd belief that he would be able to buy his life back with information, especially after he hesitated to be truthful when asked about Jaina. He had tried to show Blaine he could be merciful, cutting his right hand off at the wrist first, even though he had promised it would be his cock he would first be losing. Blaine was certainly forthcoming after that, but as Blaine explained the way they processed the children, the route they took, the time it took, it gave Gil hope that Jaina could still be saved. That feeling of hope was suddenly replaced by uncontrollable rage as Blaine explained that the final processing location in Lapis was in the ruins of an abandoned village in the Cloudtop Mountains. The ruins of Medina Village are the perfect location. Nobody goes there because it's rumored to be haunted by vicious demons, and the path that leads over the mountains into Dire is very close by, he said, smirking as if he was proud of himself. Other than the barely recognizable screams for his life, these had been Blaine's final words. "I am that demon," bellowed Gil, as he lifted his sword high and lost all sense of self-restraint. As he replayed the scenario in his head, he recalled flashes of Blaine losing his left arm, his legs, and being run through before finally losing his head. Thinking back on it all, he was glad the children had been hiding in that office and didn't have to see that. As Gil thought of the kids, the rage that had been threatening to overtake him began to subside. With that, he realized he had been pushing his horse too hard. "Whoa, I'm sorry, girl," Gil said as he pulled his horse into a trot. "Let's find you some water and take a break." The horse drank from a stream they had found while Gil brushed her. They continued to ride through the rest of the day, taking an angle that Gil felt would cut a considerable amount of time off of the trip. Not using the roads could cause them some problems as they drew closer to the mountains, but for now, they shouldn't have any issues with goblins, orcs, or worse, trolls or giants. As night drew near, Gil had altered his angle a bit to line up with where he knew the small village of Talar should be. He doubted he could make it before nightfall, and worried about the wolves in the area that could cause a real problem. But luck was on his side. He happened across a small farm. He struck a deal with the farmer, some food for him and his horse, and a place in the barn for them to rest. Gil continued on his path, stopping and resting as little as he could, trying to press his horse, but not kill her in the process. After what felt like an eternity to him, Gil finally reached the base of Cloudtop that would lead him to Medina, to home. As he didn't want to alarm anyone, he knew he would have to make his way up through the denser forest, rather than the more convenient road that he assumed would be watched. Gil urged his horse up the mountainside as quickly and cautiously as he could, as he drew closer and closer to his old home. As he drew closer and closer to his old home, he found himself unable to stay the memories he was trying to hold at bay. Flashes of his young life, everything that he had lost, everyone that was taken from him, and now this, trafficking children through his home? As night began to fall and the temperature with it, Gil did not grow cold, for his rage and hatred kept him warm. Some way up the mountain, Gil dismounted his horse and tied her off loosely onto a branch that he knew she would not struggle to break. Gil faced the horse and scratched her behind the ears. "Thanks, girl. I'm sorry I had to push you so hard. If I die tonight, you break these branches and make your way home. But if I'm able to save these children and I survive, I'll make sure they know you're the angel that brought me to them." Gil patted the horse a few times, grabbed his gear, and disappeared into the darkness of the forest. There was very little moon to light the night, and not much light of what did exist was able to penetrate the forest canopy. Gil knew he wouldn't be able to use a torch or lamp. None of these things mattered. He felt like he could walk this wood blindfolded. Each step drew him closer to home, and with that, tendrils of rage slithered around his heart. He was going to kill them all. The demon of Medina had come home, and he would reclaim what was his.
Trouble with wolves, you say?
Those damn things are everywhere! Darn it!
Literally, the
Why
only
did I
thing
have
is
to kill
entire
those?
18 pages that has caused Gil problems that he's worried about are wolves, and lo and behold, the wolves almost ended him.
Hey, wolves in large numbers can be a problem for anybody.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
care what you're trained for.
And those are like the big wolves too.
All right, we still good?
That and Alex and Eric were rolling. They about killed me.
They had something against you. You did something to them.
All right. Chapter 4, Home Sweet Home.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh,
Anybody want anything from the fridge?
I'm good. I'm so good. Rich. This is it.
Oh, thanks.
Ready?
What?
At least it does that too.
Well, it actually helps
It doesn't
drop
help
the.
shit.
I don't know.
No, it does.
It doesn't
Always
help
do
shit.
it, don't it?
The droplets. It knocks the droplets off the top of the can, so that way when you open it, it doesn't spray. Because you can actually
That's
make.
not why they do it. They do it because they think it's going to keep it from exploding on you because it's shaking.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying.
It doesn't do that. It's all a bunch of bullshit. All right,
Show me the Mythbusters episode then.
you show me the Mythbusters episode then.
They didn't do one.
That's right. Suck these balls. All right, Chapter 4, Home Sweet Home. As he drew closer to Medina, he could see the glow of campfires and torches in the distance. While stealth wasn't usually his game, he knew he would have to rely on that tonight. He tried to remain patient and scout around the small village, mentally marking the locations that looked like they were being used, as well as any movement he could discern. As he made his way around the eastern side of the village, something unusual caught his eye. There was a small fire a decent distance away from any of the other buildings outside the normal village borders. There appeared to be 2 men there, shouting and drinking. As he drew closer, he noticed there was a third man, a very large third man, quite possible the largest man he had ever seen, chained to a tree. The 2 other men were having quite the night, drinking, laughing, and beating their bound prisoner. Gil had no idea what the prisoner's story was, and, at the moment, it held none of his interest. But he could use the distraction to his favor. Gil made his way to a nearby flanking position as quietly as he could. As he got within striking distance with his throwing daggers, he glimpsed a better view of the enchained prisoner. It was an orc. Gil waited for the opportune moment when both men turned to face the orc at the same time. Gil unleashed 2 consecutive daggers, and they struck true. Gil quickly made his way to the 2 fallen men, drew his sword, and dispatched them before any alarm could be raised. Gil sheathed his sword and walked to face the orc. This orc had been beaten rather heavily and stabbed many times. He looked as if he'd been strung up to the tree for a few days, as evidenced by his wounds and the amount of his own filth he was standing in. Gil approached the orc without reservation, an idea beginning to form in his mind. The orc, who had been staring at the 2 fallen guards, lifted his eyes to meet Gil's. There was a burning hatred in those eyes, and that was exactly what Gil was hoping to see. "I find it hard to believe that an orc like you," Gil said in Basic, with a gesture that emphasized the orc's impressive size, "could find yourself captured by 2 men." Gil finished as he gestured with his hands in an obvious sign of confusion. The orc's eyes burned even hotter than before as he growled back. 2? The orc spit at Gil's feet. "There were 30. "Were 30? Gil questioned. "Yes, were 30, the orc said with a smirk. "But now, only 20, the orc said with a grin full of hatred. "You want me to believe you killed 10 men all by yourself?" asked Gil, purposely forcing doubt into his voice. The orc strained against his restraints. "Unchain me, coward, and find out." "That is exactly what I plan to do," replied Gil with a devilish smile. The orc's look changed to one of confusion as Gil stepped even closer to him. "My name is Gil A Mesh," offered Gil. He saw the orc's eyes grow a little wider as he returned with a laugh. "A bold claim." "It is indeed," agreed Gil with a smirk. Gil's expression suddenly changed to a much more serious tone. I am Gil A Mesh, the terror of Dire, the demon of Medina. Gil did find he rather liked this new title. Gil drew both of his great swords and stabbed one into the earth and asked, "What is your name?" The orc looked at the sword stuck in the ground. It was very large, especially for a human. Yet this human wielded two. He returned his gaze to Gil. Crom. Yeah.
Crom
Crom?
lost to full wins.
Crom, repeated Gil. A good, strong name. Crom's expression didn't change. Crom, continued Gil, I'm going to set you free. You owe me nothing. I would ask you for help, but refuse to do so while you remain unchained. I would ask you for help, but refuse to do so while you remain chained. Gil moved to the back of the tree, and with one mighty swing, was able to break the chains that bound Crom to the tree. Crom stumbled to his knees as Gil walked out from behind the tree, his sword now sheathed. Gil began to move away from the fire back towards the shadow of the forest. This village we are in, began Gil, is my old home, Medina. As you recognized my name, I'll assume you know my story. Crom grunted as he stood up. Yes, even amongst the orcs, your battle prowess is known. As he began to walk towards Gil, he noticed Gil didn't take a defensive stance. No normal man would act this way, even one who was confident in his fighting ability. Crom moved and stood next to the greatsword that was stuck in the ground, and still Gil's stance did not change. Crom could tell this was a man who knew death intimately. Crom's instincts told him Gil was likely who he said he was. The Dire raiding party destroyed my village, killed my family, and took me as a slave, continued Gil. In time, I got my vengeance. But now these men come to my home and disgrace the memories of my family by hurting these children and selling them to Dire as they once sold me. Crom could feel the intensity of Gil's voice growing. In truth, it excited him. I offer you a blood pact, Gil said as he turned to face Crom. Help me kill these men and save these children. In return, I give my blessing that this land is yours. Grow your tribe here. Turn your eye to Dire and bring them grief. Do this with me, and I will stand and fight for you whenever you call. Gil pleaded. Gil removed a blade from his belt and slid the blade down the palm of his hand. I swear this to you now, as Cord looks down upon me. Swear to me by Grumish One-Eye, and let the pact be made. Or Grumish One-Eye. Crom couldn't help but smile. The fact that this human would evoke the name of Grumish? Yes, he would fight with this man. Crom ran his hand against the blade and found it remarkably sharp. It took less effort than normal to slice through his skin, something he couldn't help but note. With that, Crom declared as the two warriors embraced forearms, by Grumish, this pact is made. Gil pointed to the sword sticking out of the earth. Let's do this. Crom pulled the sword from the ground and admired it. It felt incredibly sharp, perhaps even more than the dagger. It was lighter than he was expecting, yet still seemed very durable. This is a fine blade, admitted Crom, but I would prefer my axe. Crom pointed to a small house a few hundred feet away. It should be in there. Gil looked back over his shoulder to Crom. There were others with you, weren't there? Crom's eyes moved to the ground as a pained look took his face. There was, Crom said with a subtle nod. Crom raised his eyes back to meet Gil's, and the hairs on his skin rose sharply. Crom could feel Gil's change in demeanor. It was palpable. There was an energy that just seemed to radiate from him. Come, brother, your vengeance is at hand, Gil said with a calmness that belied the crazed look in his eyes. It was everything Crom could do to keep himself from going into a frenzy. Wow, this is long. Crom followed. I'm like, sorry this is so long, guys.
You said come, brother.
Yeah.
Ah, damn it.
We're talking about Crom too, the orc. I'm sorry this is so long, brother.
Crom laughs at your cum, brother. Crom followed Gil to the house that held his axe, watching his every move. They arrived at the house, and Gil peeked through a corner of the window. He looked back to Crom and whispered, "There are only 5 of them that I could see." This should be quick. I'm going to rush straight through. You take the right. There are 2 doors to the left. Keep your eyes open. Crom nodded, and the two moved to the front door. Gil gently pulled the lever down. Gil gently pulled the lever down to open the door, and then burst through the doorway. As Crom reached the first man on the right, he noticed Gil had already killed the first 2 men in front of him with his dagger. Crom grabbed the man in front of him by the throat, picked him up, drove him into the man behind him, knocking him to the floor. He quickly ripped the throat out of his first target, and then broke the neck of the second target. Feeling pleased with the speed of his work, he turned his head to see that Gil was already prepared to enter one of the side rooms. The 2 warriors shared a quick glance, and Crom nodded to show he was ready. Gil quickly entered the room, and Crom immediately followed. Crom had to draw to a sudden stop. The room was small, and Gil had stopped sooner than he had expected. He could hear Gil whispering to himself in a mix of disbelief and frustration, and within moments he understood why. This smaller room housed a cage, and within it huddled 3 children. Off to the side was a bed, and this is where Gil was now. As Crom came around toward Gil, the 3 children began to whimper. He paid them no mind. As he stood next to Gil, he noticed that there had been a younger female human that had been tied to the bed. Gil had just cut through her bindings and was drawing a blanket over her. Crom watched as he kissed the young girl's forehead, covered her completely with the blanket, and then returned to his feet. Without turning around, Gil spoke, head down. This young lady has already passed. Her time of suffering has ended. Gil turned to face Crom. These fuckers' suffering has only just begun. Crom had never really had an ally that had been human before, and certainly not one that he would have ever called friend. He wasn't even sure if he cared for the lives of any of these human children he was rescuing. His motivation had clearly been revenge and the idea of having access to these lands. But as Crom continued to watch as Gil knelt on the floor to reassure the remaining children that the large orc was their friend and was with him to save them. Yeah. He promised that they would be back soon to take the kids home. Gil stood and faced Crom with a look on his face that danced on the border of insanity. They all die. Tonight, we will use their remains to send a message. The sincerity and passion pouring from this man, as if the gods themselves had sent him as their vengeance. Crom couldn't help but feel moved. Crom placed his large hand on Gil's shoulder. You will be the angel of death. You will be their angel of death. In the next room was another cage that housed 2 more children, and Crom's war axe. Crom felt complete again as he gripped the handle of his very large axe. Crom turned to Gil with a look half crazed, half hungry, presenting his axe with only a single word, Thraka. Gil nodded. Let's feed him. Crom could feel his rage beginning to engulf him as he followed Gil out of the house. Gil was moving very quickly now, which only made it more difficult for Crom to contain himself. Crom could see in the dark, but he knew Gil should not be able to. Yet the way he moved made him question this. Gil quickly changed direction, made his way towards 2 men who were nearby, walking with a torch. As they closed in on the men, their footsteps drew their attention, and so they changed to face their direction. What happened next caught Crom by surprise. It was something he would tell stories about for the rest of his life. Just as the men realized they were to be overtaken, Gil drew one of his great swords and threw it. Crom's eyes grew wide and mouth fell agape as the large sword spun through the air and impaled itself through the chest of the man not carrying the torch. The torchbearer stepped back a few paces, stunned by what just happened. Without missing a beat, Gil had reached the fallen man, grabbed the handle of the sword with a single hand, mid-spin, spun around low, and cleaved the legs off the torchbearer at the knees. The torchbearer screamed in pain, but for a moment, as Gil, already back on his 2 feet, brought his sword down on the torchbearer's head, splitting him to the sternum. Gil stood over the dead torchbearer, turned his face towards the night sky, and bellowed with rage. The bloodshed, Gil's unbridled fury, and the incredible way Gil had just slaughtered these 2 men, it drove Crom's rage into a frenzy. Crom's head too fell back to face the night sky, sky, and he howled, a howl overflowing with pain, anger, and hatred. He could feel his eyes pulsing with his heart as they filled with blood. What happened over the next hour or so would become legend, especially within the orc community. Crom fought as hard as he could just to try and keep up with Gil. The speed, power, and efficiency that Gil moved and killed with defied everything Crom believed possible of a human, even beyond the tales he had heard of his arena exploits. This man, Crom truly believed that the gods crafted him for a singular purpose, death. But through this death, he would preserve life, the life of the only truly innocent thing left in this dreadful world. Towards the end, the men began to try and flee into the forest. Crom took it upon himself to make sure the cowards didn't get far. In the end, every man but Gil lay dead on the ground. Chapter 5! Oh, we're almost done.
It's only been an hour.
I know, but it was longer than I remember.
More pages.
Exactly.
Very
Holy
good. This-
cow.
Anymore?
This is so good.
Chapter 5, Reunion and Purpose. After the killing was done, and the two combatants were able to settle themselves, Gil thanked Crom for his assistance, though Crom joked that he wasn't sure if his assistance had been needed. Gil shared his thoughts and ideas on what he thought should happen next. That Crom should take the deed and the remains down... that Crom should take the dead and the remains down the path to Dire. I'm like, why would he need a deed? Once in Dire lands, he should stake them up to show that the demon of Medina had returned, and he would suffer not these fools. Then Crom should return to these lands, if he wished, to grow his tribe here, and prevent garbage like this from ever using these paths again. Crom agreed with Gil's requests and ideas. After that, Crom brought the largest wagon he could find to the village center. He then gathered what supplies he could find for Gil's return trip with the children they had saved. Gil then began the painstaking process of gathering the children, fearing the worst every time he approached the cage. In the fourth house, Gil finally came across Jaina, and though his heart ached for the 3 children that would not be leaving alive, a huge weight was removed from his chest when he found the young girl. He explained to her that he knew her father, and, when he had learned about the kidnappings, he vowed to save her and the other children. There were many tears that fell as the children were rounded to the village center, and though he tried to hide them, Crom noticed not all of them were from the children. Before departing, Gil gave Crom the handle from one of his daggers. He had snapped the blade off into one of those bastard skulls. I might be tough to find, but if you ever need me, send someone with this handle. No matter where I am, I will answer the call, Gil said, with the utmost sincerity. The 2 warriors embraced for a moment, and then Gil's return journey began. Gil did stop momentarily to find the mare he had ridden to Medina. He was happy to see she was still where he left her, still safe, just calmly eating some grass. He added her to the hitch to ease the load on the other horse. He introduced the mare as Angel and explained to the children that this beautiful horse was the one that had brought him here to save them. This seemed to brighten the spirits of the children a bit as they took in the beauty of the horse. Gil chose to bypass Talar while he had the children with him. Instead, he would return to that small farm he had happened upon on the way to Medina. Gil checked with the farmer and his wife and came to an agreement to leave some of the children in their care in secret. For their troubles, Gil left them all the gold and valuables that he had recovered from the kidnappers. The farmer and his wife tried to argue that it was too much, but Gil insisted, and so the deal was struck. Gil checked with the children to see where they had all come from. Not surprisingly, the majority of the children had been taken from that region, while a few were actually from as far west as the capital. Gil assured the farmer that within 2 weeks, someone would come to take them all home. Gil then gathered Jaina and the other 2 children that were from Zoldad and headed back to the Nut Camp. That's just what the squirrels are called, man. That's what the squirrels are called. They arrived in Zoldad shortly before nightfall on the next day, and Jaina was finally brought home as Aelin was closing the inn for the night. Gil had been asked on a few occasions what it was like seeing Gina return to her father. His response was always the same. I've never heard words that could describe their reunion, so I won't try. Aylin agreed in earnest to see that the 2 other children that had returned with Gina would be returned home that night. He also agreed that the children left with the farmer and his wife would become his priority until they were also returned home. As Gil prepared to leave, Aylin struggled to find a suitable way to show his gratitude. Gil refused any and all offers of payment and assured Aylin any sort of reward he was due had already been collected. Gil attempted to return the painting of Gina, but she begged that he keep it as a memento. Gil agreed with a smile and a tear as he accepted a final night's stay before he would leave. That night was spent, not with drink or woman, but in peaceful solitude. For the first time he could remember. For so many years, he and his demons had run hand in hand straight into the flames. But this time had been different. The intensity, the purpose, the drive, all of it meant something this time. Truly meant something. He knew that he would likely never quite grasp what he had done for Aylin and Gina, and that was okay. His one hope was that he'd never forget the importance of what he had done, what it meant to others, and how, for the first time in his life, he felt right. He felt that his life, maybe it could have a purpose.
That was good.
Thank you, sir.
Very good.
My favorite part is the guy's like, yeah, I just lost my daughter, and a really talented painter painted this. And Gil's like, can I have it?
It was the way he asked the question.
Yeah.
So he's like, can I keep this? Like,
It kind of works for my character too.
yeah, I mean,
But then again, the part that always got me was when we found the first little girl in the bed, and like I just drew the thing over. I was like, "You son of a bitch! You killed her! You killed her!"
my favorite line is, "Who the fuck are
Yeah.
these assholes?"
One simple question.
Would change everything.
Fuck these assholes.
Do you know these guys?
They seem like dicks.
Any more papers? I asked Kecker Dave.
Kegger's like, I've written 20 volumes.
Yes.
Yes.
No, that's a. I don't know. I don't think I have anything else written. Honestly, I think that might be the end of all of the.
So you prayed a chord.
So all of this took you 4 years to do.
No. No. Honestly, most of it did not. Most of it was done within a shorter period of time.
No, within like
But
4
the
months.
extra writings, with all the extra time, I did. That's like I was like, oh, I got time. I'll start writing some stories.
Yeah, I was just messing with
So
you.
that's where like the difference in like Uller and Tristel's kind of like story was written more as like paragraphs and notes and less story-like versus like the March on Severance, the Birth of the Highlands, Soldad. There is one more thing. It's not really a story. And when I come across it, I'll let you guys know. No! Oh, I think this is it.
We threw him from the cliffs. Insanity!
You're giving us all the information that you.
Oh, I do have more. I do have more stuff. Within the castle.
We go and search for it.
Literally walking around looking for
I'm going to need more effort than that, sir.
Oh, sorry. I'll roll.
Plus my
search.
throat needs a break from all the reading.
That'll give you a throat to break.
48. I didn't say break my throat. At any point, did you guys intend to release your pigeon?
That was on you.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
I mean, I understand, like, we were all distracted and excited and getting into, like, lore and all that stuff. So,
Well, I think
Everybody turns back and
We did get here.
Pigeon on the spit.
Yeah, we should have done
Yeah, I
that
think-
yesterday.
no, it's fine. Like it's not a big deal.
It's
Oh.
going to take 6 days.
no, it's
Yeah.
3 days to get there.
3 days, and then it's
And
gonna
then
take
we're going to have to wait for a response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys This is your home. You live
What are
here.
you in a hurry for? We have to wait weeks anyway for the tournament.
Oh, I know that. No, I'm fine with that. But I mean, what if he needs to go somewhere else?
Fuck him, he works for us. We just made him very rich. Also, I kind of want to talk to this drag.
So you all have free reign of the castle. You all have your own quarters, like all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would ask him if I could head down to the catacombs, and which way was the catacombs?
Yeah. Do you guys want to go with them?
Yeah, I'll go with him in case he needs somebody to help search.
Yeah, we'll go with him and everything.
Not that you can't search under
You are a better
stats.
searcher.
Tristal,
Yeah, I'll go with him.
you go with them to the catacombs. Okay.
Tristal snores.
No, he's awake. It's still early. Drax is probably snoring.
Drax.
Head down toward the catacombs.
Okay. I don't remember what's supposed to happen there, but. Oh, hey! The Highwind family tomb. I'm on the page. That's cool. Oh, yeah, I know all this stuff. Okay. Okay, so Keckard Dane takes you down all sorts of stairs and stuff like that. It's a pretty big sized castle. And he's like, you know, down this hall, you'll come to the Highwind family tomb, and you can pay your respects to your family there. He's like, I'll remain here and give you time with your parents, because the three of you would have known the parents. It would have known the king and queen. You would have met them, you know, stuff like that. Eaten with them. You know, you lived in the castle as well when needed. So,
You know, is it said where exactly my parents would pray to Bahamut?
well, the catacomb didn't used to be the catacomb. They used to pray down there. That was their small prayer area or church or whatever you would want to call it. And after they died, they turned that into the catacomb instead.
Before we go down, can I ask Drex if he'll come with us?
You can ask Drex if he wants to come with you. And he seems a little less snobby today, right? Like a little more like, you know, no, it's cool. Like, I'd rather just let him, you know, go and spend time with his family. I'm going to talk to Keckard about, like, what he's doing. See, like, if the castle needs anything, because he can help, you know, form stone and stuff like that.
Fucker, he's looking for hidden pages of
Well,
information
that's-
without us.
That's why I'm gonna tell him, like, that's why I was hoping he would go, is we're trying to recover a potential, like, shrine or even, like, private chamber for prayer to Bahamut.
He's like,
We
well,
may need his help.
if you find something you think you need me for, come back and get me.
Okay.
And if there's anything I can do, though, I guess I'll try.
Cool. My lord!
I said we were going to head toward the catacombs, waiting for the entry into the catacombs.
Follow.
Okay, the tomb has its own music.
Here comes Dark Souls.
Quick, light the fire. Turns out your dad was a necromancer.
Named Sauron.
One of 9.
One of 9.
You enter the tomb.
Nice.
You enter the tomb and you find 3 sarcophagi. Father, mother, sister. You have 1 statue and memorial for counting, but no sarcophagi. The statue shows you, you know, standing up there, a warrior with probably your gi arm. I have halberd everywhere, but your gi arm.
Golden pole arm.
Yeah. And armor that doesn't look overly impressive. Right? Almost looks kind of regular. And so it's a fairly large room, and there you are. So, what would you like to do?
I'd like to examine my statue further. See
Okay.
if I can note if I notice anything different about either my weapon, armor. Look at see if there's anything written on the tomb itself.
Did you come with us, Matt?
Yeah.
D20 spot. Oh, it's not a good
I
sign.
didn't even see what I didn't even see what it
Can I
was.
roll? Or you just him?
I mean, if you want to.
Fuck yeah.
My
You want spot?
my spot's not great.
Should I help?
12 plus 1.
You guys can look at whatever you want.
Hit a 31.
15.
16? No,
Are
17.
you searching the same spot? Are you?
Yeah, same spot.
Okay. So you're also kind of examining, taking in the statue.
Well, you're looking at your
I'm
statue?
looking around the room,
Oh,
seeing for
15.
like.
Okay.
And we're using spot, you said?
Uh huh.
Okay, so that is a 16. I'm just like looking for like anything
Would
that.
you roll, Adam?
I rolled a 12, but my spot's only 1, so 13.
Okay. So imagine, if you will, this entire basement. You know, from the curtain. You guys walk in that door. Oh no! I touched the bottom. And like this entire room, even extended past that little outcrop, right, is like this room that there's like sarcophagi. No. Sarcophagus girls over here. Or here. And then like Adel's kind of like over there with the statue, but there's no sarcophagus. And in the back of the room, like there's this huge mural on the wall that's been like embedded into the wall, like chiseled or something. Right?
I'm
Of like
searching that.
what?
I'm searching that.
Well, hold on, I haven't finished describing it yet.
Yeah.
But it's basically Bahamut, and there's like a scene of Bahamut fighting Tiamat, and a scene of Bahamut like leaving the Reach and going to, you know, the Outer Plains,
Pretty dope god.
all this stuff, and
Big part of Final Fantasy.
looks awesome.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's that?
Bahamut's in Final Fantasy?
Oh yeah.
Like every
single
Final
one.
Fantasy.
Yeah, he's been in
also?
since like
There's like 3
one.
of them in 7.
Yeah, there is. Bahamut Zero's the best. He's like,
Neo,
oh, is that your
Neo,
planet?
Neo Bahamut, Bahamut Zero.
Neo Bahamut is what made me sing, like, buy the game that night. I played the demo,
Progenitor of all the
cast Neo Bahamut, and I was like, holy shit!
Was that the one where it like ranges out of the ground?
Yeah, picks the ground up, like,
Also Paladin. Did you read any Dragon
And then Bahamut Zero was the one from outer space that just like
yeah.
wings that just.
Yeah. I love that one.
Oh!
I was like, this game is so
Fizzman is the old man wizard that the dragon turns into.
man
He always
wizard.
has 10 golden canaries with him, and those are 10 of the most powerful golden dragons. But he's this kooky old fuck that really likes Featherfall. Sorry to interrupt. I'm searching the.
Okay,
Mirror.
so you look at the statue because that's what you were looking at first, and it just looks like a statue, but it's incredibly smooth. Like everything down here looks like it was made by the greatest mason or marbled person or whatever that ever lived.
Or a dragon.
Right, yeah.
looks
that's what-
unnaturally perfect,
right.
Or a
right?
dragon.
Is there anything written on it?
Just your name, Italian high.
Like this man did jump high.
Jumped high, fell
High.
further.
Higher than the wind.
He did
Okay.
not have the high ground.
He
After-
started in the high.
After that, I would move on to my parents to pay my respects.
Okay. While you're doing that, Matt is kind of in the same area as John. Obviously, you both see the mural. It's not hard to notice. Even Gil, if he hadn't noticed or hadn't rolled, would probably have noticed this giant mural up on the wall.
Gil's gonna walk over to my statue and start sobbing and be like, "You were a good man.
I'm gonna miss you!
I'm gonna miss you."
Guys, when did he die? Callian, when'd you die?
You were gone too soon.
Is anything happening right
It's
now?
like I just saw you
Right
yesterday.
now, you're just in this room, and you've noticed the mural. You've seen the statues. Callian's a little bit somber because this is the first time, like in this adventure, that he's been around family. And all of his family.
Thanks.
is dead, so
I want to. I want to cast detect magic.
There it is.
okay.
I'm gonna look around.
Okay.
But before he does that, I want to use my 31 to figure out what's with this mural.
To you, it looks like a pretty sweet mural.
Touch everything.
To you, this mural is like alive.
All right, I'm gonna call out. Be like, something is up with the mural.
All right. Well, that
I mean,
he's telling you guys, not me.
all I can tell you is some sort of magic I don't really know. Wait, no.
You should be able to know
I'm
what
supposed to
kind
be
of
able to
magic
see
it is.
like what type of magic it is. Let's see.
You don't.
Like
You know it's magical.
Okay. It depends on how long I study it, and it's in rounds.
Okay.
So like it would be every 6 seconds, I guess, since we're not in combat. Right?
Do you do a Gandalf sit in front of it and just like smoke your
Yeah,
pipe?
yeah. It's just kind of like.
He does that.
I
He
just
does
wanna-
that for
like
sure.
That, like the meme, like. Like that.
Like a
That black woman.
Yeah,
Oh, the
like
black
lady.
woman.
Yeah.
All right.
Like the first round, I get presence or absence of magical auras,
Okay.
And then
And
the
so
sec-
you know there's a presence of magic for sure.
and then the second one is the number of different magical auras and the power of the most potent one.
There is one
There's one.
one thing of magic.
There's one aura of magic.
Me.
And the third round is the strength and location of each aura.
So basically, if he's in a room, it's a radius.
Right.
If
In
there's
case
multiple
there's
magical
other
shits.
spots and stuff like that. This is the only spot in the room that radiates with this power.
It says if the items or creatures bearing this aura, the auras are in line of sight, you can make a spellcraft skill check to determine the school of magic involved.
Okay.
So what is my spellcraft? I have no
School
spellcraft.
of
check.
legendary armor and weapon magic.
So I guess it's
Your
just a D20.
spellcraft should actually
Yeah.
be involved with intelligence, shouldn't it?
No, his would be
Wisdom.
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 Oh, well, I got a +4 to that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of cool.
So that's something. You're a cleric. It should actually be in the book.
You should.
19.
You should
I
have
just-
a knowledge.
I just don't have like a. Well, I mean, there's a spellcraft skill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't have any points in that.
Oh,
So what's your
you
natural,
suck.
What's your
You-
natural roll?
Dumbass.
It's 15 +4.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's
I
pretty.
mean, we didn't think there was going to be any magic in this one.
Yeah, this is supposed to be a low.
Well, it's a
easy.
low magic world, right?
Yeah.
I got 6 points in knowledge arcana. That's not. Is that the same thing?
Good enough.
Okay, well then it's a plus 10, so
So-
25.
Yeah. No, you, upon really like taking the time to examine this mural, you get the feeling that much like everything about the castle kind of has a feel of magic to it to you because it's all been shaped and crafted by dragons, right? But this one in particular spot feels like it's radiating with that same type of magic, but much stronger. Much more strongly.
Do it strongly.
Much more strongly.
Alright, well I'm going to relay that. Like that. Yes, this wall is definitely magical in some way. Quite powerful.
I turn to him and nod, and like I'm still paying my respects to my parents, because I haven't gotten that far yet. Like I've just gotten to them. So
Okay. So what are you two doing? Are you kind of gathering at the mural?
No, I'm gonna actually go since like we would have known the family too.
Okay.
I'm gonna also just be respectful and
Okay.
kind of hey.
Yeah, he probably would be if the entire fucking wall wasn't glowing like a lightsaber for him right now. He's like, the fuck is this?
Well, I mean, like, cause I
Yeah.
rolled
Yeah.
I rolled a 19 and it didn't do shit, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
Pray.
Well, you can't detect magic.
Or not pray, I'm gonna...
Yeah. I know what you mean. All right, Jared, what are you doing?
I'm gonna go help out Matt with the.
He's gonna go detect magic. Just detect magic.
No, just like look at it. I mean,
No, I know. I'm just trying to say like Gil in typical Gil fashion. Oh, magic! I will detect magic as well.
detect this is magic man over here.
I either smash things or I'm stupid.
yeah, I'm gonna try punching the wall.
I mean, you could try.
Don't.
No.
That's good. All right.
I can see the wall crumbling. And it's like,
Is there anything else you would like
Is there
to try to
anything
do to the wall, Matt?
I don't know, pray at it.
Pray.
You could do that.
Oh, Hextor, please fix this for me.
Wait, I mean, there's several gods of magic. I'll ask them for help.
Yeah, I mean, the various gods that, have blessed pieces of your armor to try to gain your favor, your follow. You have an entire shield from Pelor. So yeah, no, I mean,
Shine
you
Pelor's light on.
can't tell, like, it doesn't feel evil to you. So, at least that much.
Alright.
It doesn't give you a sense of evil.
Oh shit, I'm gonna do something. Can
You're
I
over there!
I know, I want to walk over to the mural
It's too late, you're
and
over
do the
there.
lock thing.
The lock thing?
Yeah, my armor lets me lock and unlock things and just see if it unlocks anything on the mural.
Your armor lets you unlock things?
Yeah,
What armor?
my armor. The skin of the shadows.
Oh, it does?
Yeah,
I gave you that?
yeah.
Oh, cool. You should use it.
That's what I'm fucking doing!
no, you're not.
Well,
You're
you
praying
need
to his
first.
family.
I did. And then I'm like,
the
oh
plate
yeah,
of wrath
lock.
gives me blowjobs.
I
You totally put that in there. Yeah. That sounds like something you do.
Yeah, I definitely put that. In fact, I need to write myself.
We're gonna put my hand over Tristel's mouth and cast lock.
He's like, guys, my adventure is complete.
I'm going.
I'm retired.
I'm going to my calf grove and I'm retiring.
Retired and invented Gatorade.
Caffeine.
No, I actually got one better for that.
caffeine. Oh, it's a drug that perks you up. Made by calf.
Let you keep going when you're tired.
Yeah, it's made from beans.
Caffeine.
His beans,
that
maybe.
we grow in the
Vegan.
grove.
It's vegan protein.
Made from
guys.
calf's beans.
It's for sure semen.
It's at least grown
No,
using
they're coffee,
It
but
is-
we
it
call
is
them
semen
caffeine.
love.
Yeah,
Get on Arcane.
Yeah,
Like
no,
little cat
no
toes.
water was used
Yeah.
to grow these beans.
There you go.
Oh God. Okay. Okay, now look.
There you go, Chuck.
Vaporeon.
I'm not saying Vaporeon's not sexy, but is there something
It's
specific
the
joke about
Pokemon.
it?
No, there is. There is. There's like a whole joke and like study done about it and this and that with people just joking about it that Vaporeon would be the best mating material for a
Caffeine would
human.
be- His slogan
because
would be,
it's
"Come jack my beans
the
off."
way the
You mean
body
like
is.
biologically?
Almost. Because it's more suited to handle that kind of pummeling. Plus it stays moist. Water based.
Okay, no, like I
comedy
said,
right
And
itself.
it's
I'm not saying Vaporeon's not sexy, but like, why specifically Vaporeon? And I mean, that kind of clears it up, I guess.
it's literally it's
Adol's
people
arc
of
is
like
completely gone off
Yeah.
the rails. We've
I
gone
didn't
from
do this.
we've gone to praying to his dead family to fucking a wet Pokemon.
I'm sorry, that's bothered me for a long time.
Okay, well, that's
that's it.
but that's the whole joke and
And
meme about it too.
I finally have someone to ask about that.
Yeah,
So it seemed like the.
I mean
Expert in the
you've
field.
heard the meme like Joker like going up to
You're into
Batman.
freaky
saying,
shit. What do you think of this?
Batman, I got me a
I mean,
Pokemon.
I'm into.
No, Joker, you can't do that. It's no, Batman. It's a Pokemon.
All right.
It's not an
Come back.
animal. It's a Pokemon.
let's
It's
come
legal.
Back to Eleanor.
Back to Eleanor. Let's. All right. So we're in the tomb. Are you guys done saying?
I'll wait for him.
I mean, I would also like to take a look at my my father and mother. Does Rosa have long blonde hair? Cecil look like he have like.
You want to
purplish-
take a look at like open the sarcophagus?
No. Like,
So
are there
what?
statues there? or
That's
no?
what I thought too.
Yeah, they have statues.
Yeah, like she looks like she would have blonde hair. Cecil looks like he'd have like purplish, gray, silver hair.
If they weren't like they're like digital remastered pixels.
Nice.
Right? Like the good ones that
Oh,
that
I was like,
match
aren't they stone? How would you know what the color is?
Like
so my
prom and
character,
purple.
Callian
Those
Highwind,
games were very pretty.
is the name of the
Did you get
dragoon
those?
from Final Fantasy IV.
The
Because it
pixel
takes
remasters?
I haven't been able to.
Is he
There's
sweet?
no
When you
internet.
did?
Italian
Oh
for
yeah.
Shadow of Mordor.
Like,
Oh,
there's
right,
too
right,
many
right.
other things that I have to, like,
I was just
finish
confused.
getting caught up with
Yeah, they
before
were-
I
I
can
want to
actually
look at
like,
them. Like, whoa,
That's fair.
stanky.
I have to adult. It sucks.
I mean, you can open the sarcophagus if you want.
I wouldn't.
I'm not
I wouldn't
doing
do
that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not touching it.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm at this point when I'm gonna go address what he said, and I'm gonna go look at the at the mural as well. Do I feel any kind of pull towards it?
I wouldn't say pull. You recognize, like, the mural itself. From, you're like, hey, I've seen this mural before. I don't necessarily remember where in the castle I've seen it, but I know I've seen this mural before.
Is a picture of Bahamut there?
Oh yeah, it's like all over. I mean, the mural's like different scenes of his life, and
Him fighting Tiamat.
him fighting Tiamat, him leaving the mortal realm. Like,
I'm gonna kind of go down onto one knee and just kind of like be thankful towards Bahamut for saving my family for that day, because obviously I remember it now, and I have everything to thank basically that we're still alive to Bahamut. So that's basically I just spend.
okay.
I kneel and say my thanks to Bahamut for giving us a chance to, for believing in our family.
Okay. So the wall begins to part,
Oh shit!
very similar to how the tunnel had begun to form. But the wall is considerably thinner than like the tunnel wall. This is more like a wall. You know, it's probably just a foot and a half thick or
You
something.
get like those dividing walls in the gym.
Yeah, kind of like that, but larger and like pure stone. but is dividing pretty easily for itself. As the wall begins to open, it's a much larger room that is starting to take place behind it, and the smell of death and decay starts to emanate from this in particular room.
This is gonna be.
Oh, we better not find any mirrors down here.
This is one of Adam's all-time favorite songs. He had me play this one on the piano before.
Final Fantasy.
It's six. This is my favorite game of all time.
Mine's
So-
Soggy Biscuit.
The door opens, but it's not like a huge door. This is more like, you know,
Like a
you,
man-sized.
you guys, yeah, like a two-man sized door, like a large double door size. And it's a very large room. Smells really fucking bad, like almost nauseatingly so.
That's weird.
And the door's open.
Is it dark in there?
It was pretty fucking dark.
Can I see anything?
You try to, and it's very difficult. Like, you feel like you should be able to, but you just can't seem to see inside the room from outside the room.
Is
Alright,
any of his stuff from Bahamut?
What?
You said he's got a
Oh,
bunch of
him?
shit from different gods.
No. No.
I will say out loud, there seems to be an unnatural darkness emanating from in there.
Okay, I'm gonna be like, whoever wants to come with me can come. If you don't, I understand. I'm gonna walk through.
Bow's out. I'm ready.
I don't
I join you.
know how to do this in game terms, but I have a daylight spell. Can you use a daylight spell in there?
Grab the pigeon.
I would walk in there first, and then, I'm not gonna ask you to. And if you ask me if you should, I'm gonna say not yet, and then I'm just gonna walk
Let me
in.
know if you want some light in there.
Okay, I'm just gonna walk in there first.
The bow.
All right. So
I'm standing like this.
Yeah, you're like ready, right? Like,
So is John.
Something seems
so
off.
is John.
I walk in there basically like.
I mean, I got quick draw, so
I'm
Yeah.
not ready to arm myself at all. I'm
Right.
wondering what.
Smells like death and decay.
That's
I
not.
mean, what doesn't? What
I mean-
well,
give me a little bit wild. That White Castle's brewing
so does
right
Jared's
now.
ass.
Yeah, I just need to fart. So, for the sake of realism.
I mean that's fine. Like I.
Give me a second. I'll go do some squats.
Nope.
no.
Just you sit there, listen to the story. Don't fuck anything up. So, you guys enter the room, and the room is actually not that dark. You walk through, like, the doorway, and as you do, there's, like, ambient lighting that just exists. It's very low,
Like without
very
source.
low light source, but it exists. This room is really fucking big, right?
So can he and I see?
Yes, everyone can see, and what you see in the middle of this room is this huge Bahamut statue.
Yes.
Right? And on the ground, next to this big statue, is this dead. It looks like it's this even bigger than the statue. This giant dead dragon. And it looks like it should be dead because this thing is like saggy. It's laying there, looks crumpled, like it had been dead forever.
This is
What
where he
color is
passed
it?
over into the other world.
You'd probably, it's a little shiny. It's hard to say. You would have to probably move closer to it if you wanted to discern what
I'm
color.
gonna put my bow away.
I mean, I'm allowing Kelly to make the first movements. This is his area.
I'm gonna just walk over to it and say as I walk closer to it, I'm thinking of how exactly I want to say my words, but like greatest of Bahamut, there's nothing we can do to ever repay you. Like that's basically what I say to
Is
you.
there anything you're doing, Trish, or you just kind of like...
I'm not expecting it
I'm
to
just
answer.
watching.
I'm saying it as if I think it's dead. Like it's just something that I say kind of like.
So as you begin rambling about your fealty and your thankfulness and all that, you see this thing like lift its head slowly. You would almost say like painfully, and it turns over to where your voice is coming, and it opens its eyes that are stark white. Like it's looking in your direction, but you don't get the sense that it's looking right at you. And it's like, and then its head kind of comes up, and it's, my lord, he's here. Can I go now? I'm so tired. And brings
Oh, that's the old copper dragon.
brings your head back down.
That was a girl.
Yeah.
That's the old
Is
copper.
the one talking to female?
Sounds like it could be, but it sounds kind of dead. So it turns and looks.
She said he's like.
Whatever. So gender neutral. So his first instinct is it's that old copper dragon. So you can go with that, or you can.
Yeah, I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna assume that that's what it is, and I'm gonna call her by name.
Okay. You don't remember the name, do you?
Starts with an A.
It does.
Adira.
Adira. Yeah.
I didn't
Adira.
have my notes out. I get an A plus and good gamer.
Adira, thank you for watching over my family for all these generations.
She turns and she's like, Callie. Oh, it's been so long.
I'm gonna get closer to her head, and kneel down and say it's okay. I'm here.
She's like, she doesn't really say much other than, I'm sorry I couldn't protect the statue. And then lays her head down like this. And your breathing slows way down.
I'm gonna like put my hand on the head as that's happening.
Now, you all would have known Adira from your time at. He would have known her like the best because he was a small child when he came to the Reach. But you all would have known her at least.
So I lower my head in respects.
Okay.
I would put my hand on her.
Okay.
Like nod.
Yeah, that's the Tristal way. And then, as far as you can tell, she's stopped breathing.
Okay.
And this large, huge Bahamut statue is still there. Like I said, this dragon is like a great wormling at this point in the year. But she lives in this closed room. There's no ceiling. There's no food. There's no water. It's just this giant room that she's been in.
Guarding.
I'm gonna at this point, now that I understand that what happened, I'm just gonna take a look at this giant Bahamut statue that she's laying in front of.
Okay.
And I'm gonna since Uller is there touching the dragon with me, I'm gonna ask Uller, help me search the statue.
Okay, you want to search your spot?
Okay. Roll your d20s.
Because I mean, the way that I think I'm playing my character is that I relied heavily on after I received the arms, I relied heavily on them. Like I know Uller is the eyes, like Tristal and to a further even extent, Gil is like the arms, the hands of death. Tristal's judgment.
They have their titles for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
They either got a 31 or 32, depending on spotter search.
8.
This in particular statue, from what you two could tell, is in fact Bahamut. And has the same incredible craftsmanship as the rest of this whole damn castle. Unnaturally smooth, unnaturally perfect.
Did that Copper Dragon say, sorry I couldn't protect the statue?
Yes.
What's wrong with the statue?
I think she was talking about his.
Oh.
I assumed that she was talking about the statue outside in the pond.
Your sister's.
My sister's statue.
Oh.
Okay, that makes sense.
But that's just the assumption I make real quick from.
Because we didn't really see a statue in the pond.
We did.
Yeah, there was a statue in the
Yeah,
pond.
there
Yeah,
was
where
a
the
statue
wolf
in
came
the
from.
pond.
Yeah, and the head was missing on the statue.
I thought a bunch was missing.
Yeah, bunches.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was
I
just
think
like
I snapped a leg off and both arms off and the head off.
Dear goodness sakes, they wanted to play
Just like,
fetch,
now what
didn't
can I do
they?
with this model? Oh, I know.
I actually bought that model specifically to be turned into that statue.
So did any of us know Bahamut, or was it just his family?
As you
Like
guys
before he
don't,
ascended.
you guys don't. None of you known Bahamut.
Oh,
He
had-
ascended at the end of the first era.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't.
Yeah.
Fucking, I'm gonna just kneel down and pray to him.
This dude's straight up religious now.
Well, no, it's not that. I mean, it's just like
He's
I'm in
like-
a world where there's gods, and I've got a lot of shit that my guy regrets. So,
Yeah.
fucking, this guy's as good as any.
He's like, even he prayed to a god.
Like his god was kind of a dick, right?
Yeah. Didn't
And
lead you astray though. Never lied to you.
and I've been reading the book that I asked for Tristal, and his god's kind of a dick as well. This one I know is not a dick.
All right, hey, maybe this could be my god.
No, I really just respectfully, I'm in their home, and I knew they cared, and it's just like a,
Okay.
hey,
I gotcha.
take care of this dragon kind of thing. Not like, I'm not like,
Like,
I'm your follower, I'm not trying to steal somebody's
great
god.
prove to me
That
that you're
doesn't feel
real
right
and
either.
send me more epic gear.
No, I'm not asking for
And
anything
the
other
women,
than,
He's like, I have a winged helm now, guys.
like, this, like,
I'll be like,
so-
that's mine.
my guy lost his wife,
Mhm.
potentially lost his dog, never had much family other than these guys, and so he understands like the value of like a friend willing to give their life, which is what this copper dragon did for them and for Bahamut. I keep wanting to say Paladine.
No.
Same thing. So, my prayer is specifically going to be for the copper dragon to Bahamut,
Okay.
if that makes sense at all.
Yeah.
Like in polytheism, you can pray to any god, and it's not going to piss off the main one you worship. You know, like you pray to Poseidon before you go on a ship. You pray to like the Uller god if you were going to go on a hunt. So that's I'm praying to a dragon god on behalf of a dragon that seemed like a loyal friend. That's what I'm doing, and telling him whatever a 31 finds.
Okay.
So all of that was just for your 31.
No, I did that before I prayed.
Yeah. And so the only other thing you have found, other than this great wormling dead copper dragon, is the statue, and the rest of the room is completely empty. Everything, like the walls are smooth, the ceiling is smooth, the floor is smooth. There isn't a single crack that you could find.
Okay.
The door's still open, and you can see through the door fine. Like you struggled to see inside the door. Like even Matt couldn't see past whatever it was that was protecting the room, or whatever. But you can see outside fairly easy.
Is your spell still active?
How long does it last?
Detect magic.
I'm gonna do something that may be a little questionable because may affect the game.
My eyes closed while I
Pray
pray.
It lasts for like 8 minutes.
Okay, I would say it's still active.
Is there anything magical in the room?
The whole room has that same slight dull magic sense to it.
Alright.
And the giant Bahamut statue also has that slight dull magic sense. Like you can tell a dragon crafted the room, you can tell a dragon crafted the statue, but you don't get like an
Like
overwhelming.
this room was made by magical means.
Does it feel like we're still on like the same plane of existence?
as far as you can tell. But you never have you ever like gone outside the plane before?
I mean, yeah, I was dead. Maybe.
Have you ever found anything that told you you've been outside the plane before?
No, that's why I'm asking you.
I'm not gonna tell you. Figure it out yourself, butthole.
I can't.
Exactly.
Okay.
As far as you don't feel like when you had stepped through, you didn't feel like you traveled anywhere.
Well,
you just stepped into a door.
Because this is literally the spot where a god ascended.
It's not necessarily. As a matter of fact, outside of the game, it's not.
Oh, I thought you told us in your little war packet that they called it God's Reach because this is where.
That's what the whole area was called. Because he left from this area. The castle was erected during the war.
Erected.
So
Come, brother.
So I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do something that might affect our game later on. So I'm gonna take out what's supposedly a key that has the high wind symbol on it, and I'm gonna leave it with Adira and walk out.
Okay.
So like kind of like she's like one like she is family to us. So that seems appropriate to me. And
As you go to leave, you walk through the same door that you came in, and you notice that you could look back in, and everything seems easy to see. You can still see the dead dragon. Everything is just plain to see. The room still has this weird ambiance to it, but it's like slowly getting darker. Like it's just fading.
Don't get the fuck out of the room. Follow me.
I assumed you were all leaving.
Yeah, I'm following you.
Eventually, all the light fades away. The natural light that's coming through the door is there, and you just see this giant dead dragon laying next to a
I would
statue.
assume that it didn't close up because the dragon passed away.
Did the dragon change the dead one? Like, did it turn to
Yeah,
stone?
it's dead now.
I mean, like, did it turn to stone?
No, it's just laying there dead.
What did you do to that wall before? What if you do it to
Nothing.
that statue?
She probably heard my voice and opened it for us, is what I'm assuming. And I can tell you that in game as well.
Yeah, no, I'm asking in game because
Yeah, in game.
I still feel like there's something
I'm
we're
assuming.
missing in that other room.
I'm saying. I believe Adira heard
I
my
mean,
voice.
Yeah, but why was she in there?
I don't
What was
wanna
she
search it for
guarding?
anything,
What
I
was
just
she
wanna look at it. Is there
protecting?
anything wolf related on it?
Mm-hmm. Why was she in that room? It felt like she was guarding or protecting something in that room, waiting for you.
Hey, it sounded like you were supposed to be there. That's why she died finally. It was like,
That's
you
why
kid.
she was finally
Gotta go
able
now.
to release.
If she was just guarding the whole castle, she really could have picked any room she wanted.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
what was
something
the
about
food?
that room.
Yeah.
And she didn't die until you were there.
Are we supposed to go back into that room and look around more?
You can if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can. I'm gonna like the doorway shouldn't close because the dragon is dead.
We should go get the copper dragon. The copper dragon could definitely help us with
The
that.
copper dragon is outside.
I'm gonna go
Or
get Drax.
upstairs or
Yeah.
wherever.
I would say that that's a good idea, anyways, because he's obviously held Adira in very high regards, and so it would be a really cool thing for him to say his respect for Adira.
I'll just go
But I'm
get
th-
him, and all I want to say is there's something he needs to see.
Okay. So Drex is kind of like, okay, like his butthole attitude still hasn't come back, right? Like you could tell he was maybe a little thick, a little heavy,